You are listening to Single Smart Female.
This is us letting it all hang out for your love life, examining Steph's dating experiences and answering your hot topic dating questions. Just you, Steph, and me. No topic is off limits and no filters involved. This is Jen.
And I'm Steph. If you have a question about your love life that you would like us to answer, you can submit your question at singlesmartfemale.com.
Hello and welcome, Single Smart Female. I'm your host, Jen Burton, and I am, just by chance today, joined by my co-host, Steph. Hi, Steph.
Hey, Jen.
We are going to go straight to our cue from our Single Smart listener today. This listener we will call Miss Marriage on My Mind.
And Ms. Marriage on My Mind writes, Hi, I'm going through a breakup of an 8-year relationship. Everything about the relationship was great, and I truly felt this was the love of my life and future father of my children. I'm 34 and he is 38. Neither of us have been married before, and we have not lived together. I often spoke of marriage and was very clear on what I wanted long term, as soon as the relationship became serious. I would often ask him what he wanted, and he said he did want to eventually get married, and that he wanted to marry me. When I would say when, he would say soon. I would try to make plans and discuss, but he never really wanted to move forward and have more detailed conversation, and he would just get quiet. I feel like I have patiently waited, but always sensed he did not want marriage, and was perhaps just telling me what he thought I wanted to hear. In fact, that's why I have put off moving in with him even after all this time, because I sensed he was dragging his feet and would not take the plunge if I moved in with him. I'm heartbroken because I brought it up again on New Year's Day. That, what are we doing? Why are we waiting? Are we still on the same page? Conversation. And he finally broke down and admitted that he was afraid of marriage and thought he would be ready by now, but just feels like he isn't. I was angry because I feel he misled me. Instead of telling me his true feelings, he made it seem like we were on the same page, although I now realize his actions were showing me more than his words. He said he can be with me forever, but he just isn't ready for marriage and doesn't know when he will be. I know that he loves me, and I love him. I'm ready to end this because I feel like this is a huge fundamental difference in values, but he is making it difficult. He wants to continue to be with me, buy a house, move in, etc., and says he will marry me one day, but can't say when. I just don't want to be another 8 years waiting for what I want when I have been so clear about my values from the beginning. My question is, how important is marriage? Is it just a piece of paper, or am I right in feeling like this is a deal breaker? How long is too long to wait? And can I truly hope to move on and find another great love at the age of 34? Or am I too invested in this long-term relationship? My heart and my mind are saying different things. Maybe I'm just lovesick. Woo!
This is a big one, a very, very big one. It's a great question, Steph. Wow, there are lots of pieces to address, but I want to talk about first the question that she's posed to us. I know she's given us a lot of background, but her question is marriage that important? Did I phrase that correctly?
Yeah. The answer is, well, the answer depends on you, and for you, yes, it absolutely is. If it's something that you want, then yes, marriage is that important. If it's not really a debate on whether or not it's just a piece of paper or it's a symbol, or what it means to you, what it means to anybody can be different. But if it's something you want, then it's important. I don't think that this is so tough too, because it's, there's a person behind this, right? It's not just like, I'm sure Miss Marriage on My Mind isn't just interested in being married. She wants to be married to the person that she loves, to the man that she loves. And that man doesn't necessarily want what she wants or isn't sure. And that's a very difficult spot to be in.
It's an extraordinarily difficult spot to be in. It's one of my least favorite spots to hear women in, aside from other really horrific stuff, because you're right, Steph. It's special. It means something. It's important if it's what she wants. Absolutely. And of course, this might be an opportunity for you to explore if it really is truly what you want, or if it maybe is the idea of something else. But if it is genuinely what you want, then absolutely, 100%, it's important. It's really freaking important. Now, there's a bigger question of this. Is this a deal breaker? And the thing is that, throughout this entire submission, you lay the groundwork for us. You tell us very logically how everything is going. But at the end of it, you're telling us about a guy who he's in the relationship, but he just doesn't want marriage. But then at the end of it, I hear he just won't let me go.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's very telling. I'm not going to lie about the potential of him coming around. I think Steph wants to interject though.
Well, I mean, I do think that there is a very very strong potential of him coming around. However, it's going to take this term my bum Jen out, some balls on your part as far
ovaries.
As that goes.
It's ovaries. We don't need balls. Ovaries are much better. Damn it. Yes, it's going to take some ovaries.
Yeah, it's going to take some serious ovaries, lady. I won't lie. It's going to be a bit of a challenge because you've such a long relationship past that it has built up to where you are now. But, I mean, it sounds like you have already kind of made yourself pretty clear, and it's just now it's hurting your heart, right? I don't think that you need to. Does marriage have to be a deal breaker? A deal breaker. Do you have to automatically cut this guy out of your life cold turkey because he doesn't want to marry you? No, I don't think so.
I think she did something really smart though. Do you know what I'm
not
talking
move
about?
in with him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was very smart of not moving in with him at bare minimum until you are certain that if you move in with him and he isn't on the same page with you, that you're okay with that. Okay. But it's a good motivating factor. Now, it hasn't worked out the way that you wanted it to, but I'm still proud of you for doing that, because most women go ahead and move in anyways and then hope that he's going to want to all of a sudden marry her. And that isn't, I wouldn't call it rare, but it's not even a 50-50 chance.
I would say moving in to convince somebody to marry you is rare. Okay. Or like the actual, like convincing someone to marry you by moving in if they're not sure about it. I think it's substantial amount still happens, but I don't think it is as much as women think it is. But you and I can disagree on that, and that can still be okay, and we can love each other. We can still love each other. Miss Marriage on my mind. I am really proud of you for not moving in with them because you weren't clear that you were okay with this. This really reminds me of a movie from a while ago called the movie, not the book. He's Just Not That Into You, with Jennifer Aniston's character. Was it Ben Affleck? I can't remember who she played. I think it was Ben Affleck. She played Ben Affleck?
No, she didn't play. No, Jen's not that good yet. She, I believe it was, we shall Google this right now and find out if it was Ben Affleck or not.
Who she played opposite.
Yes, who she played opposite of
the
romantic interest. And that was a deal breaker for her. She moved out and broke up with him because they had this amazing relationship, but he did not want to get married. And she broke up with him. And then she realized after she tested the waters outside of this relationship that it didn't matter to her, the marriage part. She just wanted to be with him. And it was clear that regardless without the marriage certificate, that they had something extraordinarily special. And I know it sounds like I'm pushing you towards that, and I'm not. I'm bringing up a story, and we're going to talk about a couple different options here of the way you can pursue this, because ultimately this is a very personal decision that Steph and I cannot make for you.
True.
And anyways, in the storyline, which I thought they did the storyline really well, she ended up coming back to him, and when she did, they came back together, and he ended up proposing to her, and it worked out, the happily ever after and blah 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 happened. But I still like this storyline, and there are a lot of romantic storylines I can't fucking stand, but this is one of them that I like, and I do see being very, very plausible. I'm going to give you a couple of ideas for how you can navigate this, but ultimately, remember, this is your life, your choice. This is your opportunity to discover. I think the real thing in question here This is life saying, Miss Marriage on My Mind, is marriage, is it the only definition, or is it the only visible definition of love in this situation? And it may well be, because like we said, if it's important to you, it's fucking important to you.
Yeah.
And we're not asking you to let that go. All right. That's really important that you hear us say right now. But here's this opportunity that has come up, because breakups always come with an opportunity, regardless of how fucking hard they are. They always come with an opportunity. And there's an opportunity for you to explore. Maybe there's something in you. Maybe you've always said that you really wanted marriage. Okay. Maybe you've always told yourself that, but maybe there's a piece of you that it really doesn't define your romantic life. And maybe this is happening because those two pieces are not adding up together. Maybe this is you about really standing in who you are romantically and saying, you know what, as much as I care about you and I have feelings for you, this is important to me. And it doesn't feel okay to be in this relationship with you in these conditions. Okay. Maybe this is an opportunity, maybe you're being called to something bigger. Now, I want to say something about you saying, well, I'm 34. Can I really expect to find more love? And I'm not going to lie. I laughed out loud when I first read that, when you said you're 30. You are still a baby in a good way. You're still a baby. So relax. It's all good. It's all okay. You've got a lot of opportunity here. And absolutely 100%, if you decide that this man in this relationship is not for you, you 100% have the opportunity to find even bigger love. Okay. There is not an age. I have heard and seen women in their 80s, in their 90s even, that find love again, really great love. So don't fret about that. This is not about that. You definitely will do that. Now, it's a tough situation to be in, like we mentioned several times probably. You're probably like, could she quit saying this is a tough situation to be in? You need to take a step back from it and decide whether or not you want to. One of the scenarios you can do is you can actually date him again, actually go back into dating and start dating other men. And I know everybody's like, no, you can't do that. Yes, you can.
You can.
You can absolutely do that. It's tough. Again,
yeah,
not gonna lie, it's tough. It's a tough situation to negotiate, but it definitely can be done. You can just take a pause and say, hey, I need to just think about everything. All right. I really love you. All of my soul wants to be with you, but I am so torn about this relationship thing. Cause I will tell you, I don't know if you caught this, Steph, but I'm a little taken aback by he's 100% on board after this amount of time of moving in with each other, but still the marriage part is a little off. So I'm a little like, I do think you need to take a couple steps back from this and process this a little more and give him the opportunity to miss you a little bit. But one thing I don't want you to do, and this is it's an option, you can do it, but it's not my favorite option. I hate it. It does work. I'm not going to say it doesn't work, but it doesn't necessarily work the way we want to, is the ultimatum in this situation. So giving him an ultimatum. And yes, you can absolutely do that, but I'm so tired of women having to press guys into that in order to get what they want, because what I know it does is it creates a circle of doubt in your head.
Yep.
Did he really want to do this, or did I just I force him into this? Is this about him really wanting to be with me, or is this about him just, not knowing how to, do?
Yeah, he feels obligated.
Me.
Like the only way that I can be with her is by this way, so I guess I'll just do this.
And it creates a vicious cycle of doubt in your head, of insecurity. And so it's an option. And I'm not going to tell you it doesn't work, because it does. In many cases, it does work. But it doesn't work the way that you really, truly want it to. It doesn't necessarily play out. And then it just doesn't set up the right foundation. So as an adored woman, and if I were in your position, I would take a couple steps back. I'm not telling you to jump straight into dating, because I don't necessarily think that that's exactly what you should do. You get to choose the option of, this is your choose your own adventure time, but take a couple steps back, a week, 2 weeks, and really focus on yourself, doing the things that you want to do. Take some time away from him. If you need to talk to him, I would just journal to him right now. journal your thoughts, but still take some time away from them. You can actually write about, what does marriage mean to me? You can just write in a journal. What does marriage mean to me? And let yourself, I believe it's called stream of consciousness writing.
Yep.
Just free flow.
Just letting it flow.
Yeah. Let it flow and let it come out and see what you come up with. This, remember, is your life. And I don't want you to define it by what everybody else thinks. Society still, even though we're much more open-minded these days, society still sets us up to think that this is the only way to have an amazing relationship. And the truth is that a lot of people are really fucking it up. They're doing a shit ass job at it. So I want to give you an example of my life. I was married before, and for the longest time, marriage was not that important to me. After that, it just didn't mean that much. And I met my husband. He had asked me to marry him. I didn't, we put it off. I just let it go for the longest time. Eventually we did, but we've had a great relationship without that. And what I want to encourage you to do is really think about how this person feels in your life. Does he light you up in other ways? And you can always, once you actually take a couple steps back from it, then you can start saying, you know what, maybe I am being called to see if there's something else. Maybe this is just kind of a cover-up for some fundamental things that are broken. Not the marriage part, but other things that are broken in our relationship. Maybe this is a call to explore my romantic options. And then you can step into dating. I do not want you to haphazardly step into dating, though, because when you do, especially under these circumstances, it's going to go horribly wrong, and it's going to force you back to him regardless if you want to be with him or not.
A lot of emotional turmoil.
Lots of emotional turmoil. And we will draw in really crappy dating situations in order to reinforce bad choices in bad relationships and to run back to men just because we're comfortable there. So I want to encourage you, actually, I want to demand that if you do decide to step back into dating, that you come to us to help you date. You get really good instruction on dating and help with it, and don't do it haphazardly. All right. Yes, you can have amazing love at 34, at 35, at 46, at 58, at 69. Good number, 69. You can have awesome love. All right. But when opportunities like this come along, I know they don't feel like opportunities, heartbreak fucking sucks, but you have to take a step back and evaluate what might actually be going on, because surface, the breakup, is not what it's about whatsoever.
Today's show is brought to you by thelovesickcure.com. Does your love life suck because you can't move on from the idea of him? Does every man you meet pale in comparison to the way he made you feel? It's okay, lady love. We 100% understand. Whether you'd like the opportunity to get him back or to completely move on, we know this only happens when you cure your lovesickness. Let us help you today at thelovesickcure.com.
Welcome, single smart female, to segment 2. I think Steph's got something important to talk about.
Well, so I figured that we could take this segment to acknowledge something that may or may not have been a concern of our listener question, and that is the kids portion.
Okay.
Right? She mentioned in her background information that she imagined that this was the man that she would have kids with. And so I'm considering the fact that, she's 34, and maybe while she did ask if, it's too late for her to find love at 34, maybe the bigger concern is to start over and find love at 34 when you're wanting to have children feels a bit daunting. And then even still, what if she decides that she doesn't want to be, or that she's okay with being with him without getting married? Where does that leave them on the kids front? Because a lot of people feel like they want to have kids within the construct of a marriage for various reasons. Other people, it's totally fine for them. But I wonder if maybe that is a concern for Miss Marriage on my mind. It's a concern that, I feel like a lot of young mid-30s women have. Even making the decision on whether or not they want to have kids is kind of it's a tough one because you feel like you're a little bit up against a wall here. I'm not ready for kids yet, but I think I want them later. If I'm with somebody who isn't sure either, that makes for a very wishy-washy, uncertain future. And I don't know. I still even, I understand the concept of how people, they say that marriage is just a piece of paper, all that kind of stuff. And then there's, of course, it's a symbol of your love. It's a commitment. It's a construct to build a family within. Like there's so many different reasons that people get married and or don't get married. And I think in our modern society, there are so many different options that it's almost paralyzing for some of us.
So what would you tell her?
Shit, I don't know. Like that's what I'm saying. It's a tough call. I mean, you just, I guess, have to do your best to navigate within how you're feeling. I don't know how you're feeling about your own stuff. It's I don't know. It's a tough one
it's a tough question for anyone, but let's talk about what the actual options are. So something that science is talking about a lot more, which I think is a very viable option for women in this category, is egg freezing at this point.
Yes.
And something to consider.
It is something I feel like that's a very expensive procedure though.
Yeah, it does. I actually don't know how much it costs, but I'm going to guess that's going to put some women
in a very tight financial situation, I would say. It could. Especially a lot of times, if you're a single woman. I mean, I feel like
there are a lot of single women that are very successful too. So here's the thing. We always find the money for the things that we really, really want. So I would say at least look into it and consider it. Mm-hmm. We women, even if we aren't making a substantial amount of income, usually can figure out how to do things that are important to them. And sometimes family members help in those situations as well. Because a lot of times it's having a child's not just an individual thing, it's a family thing. So that's an option to explore as well if the financial part doesn't feel feasible as a single woman. There are single women that have no support whatsoever, and there are single women that have support, in different levels of support. So I'm going to say to women out there who maybe might not be in the right financial situation to do something like that, if it's important to them and they have family members that are willing to help or at least to ask them, do it. I think that's not a place that you need to feel ashamed of for asking. I think that's something you should absolutely 100% do and let yourself receive that kind of financial help in that way.
Yeah.
Okay, if it's important to you. Now, being someone who has had a kiddo, I also know that women are very easily, and I know not every medical professional will recommend this, but lots of women are very easily having up until 45 having children.
Yes, that is one thing that we all have to continually be reminded of, is that things are not the same as they were,
60 years ago.
Exactly. Like this geriatric pregnancy term, it's a disturbing term that doesn't necessarily, it isn't as serious as we're all thinking. I think we've all grown up with this idea that once you hit your 30s, your clock is ticking and it's ticking fast. But there are plenty of women out there that are having children into their 40s very safely, very comfortably. Women are much healthier now than I don't.
Some of them, some not all of them.
Like we have a lot more opportunity to live a lot longer.
Yes, we have a lot more opportunity to have children at a later age. Now, I'm not going to say that there can't be complications, and I know medically some people are going to really disagree with me, but I see lots of women having pregnancies a lot later. With that said, I've said this on other episodes. I have a child, and I love that child dearly. That child doesn't look like that child came out of me whatsoever. That child bears no resemblance to my personality, and nothing. And in fact, I was very disconnected from my child when at birth, and I fell in love with my child because of the caretaking process.
Mm-hmm.
So I know this isn't always the simplest answer, but I think adoption and I think our foster system and everything is in such disarray that I think women should really consider those routes for having children as well, because there are so many children out there who really need a fantastic home. And I totally admit there are a lot of complications that can come with that, but I think we need to put a lot more attention there and seeing about that, because I've seen some of those stories work out really well too. The other thing I want to bring up is, let me give you a little timeline here, especially for my Mantourage dating fans. I met my husband in November. We were exclusive by March, and that's the amount of time it took to get to exclusivity. And he had already asked me 2 times before that to be exclusive. And this is a man that had never asked anybody to be exclusive in his life. Never even told a woman he loves her. Never took a woman home to meet his parents. Never given a woman a gift. That's how he was a hot mess. So November, we went on our first date. March of the next year, we were in an exclusive relationship. By the end of May, he had asked me to move in with him, to marry him, to have our first kiddo. Okay? So let's count this. December, because it was the end of November. December, January, February, March, April, May. 6 months. That's how fast this shit can happen. Okay? And again, I want to reference that this guy had never, ever wanted any of this with any other woman. And that's the power of Mantourage dating. That's the power of exploring your romantic options and not just honing in on the one guy and then seeing where that goes. Really, truly opening yourself up to the possibilities. I think originally what you really wanted to talk about, how important is marriage?
Yeah. I feel like it's a very personal question, of course, but it is something that I kind of bump up against a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And even
you still haven't decided 100% whether or not it's for you. Some days yes, some days no.
Yeah. I never like to say that. I always lean towards, yes, I want to be married. It's just, then it's like, okay, well, just not right now.
Just not right
now. Same thing with kids. Like, yes, I want to have kids, but just not right now. And so, but then, and the timelines, they trip me up a lot as far as, my age versus what I want out of my life versus when am I going to actually want those things that I say that I want. They don't always mesh together.
I hear you. So, yeah, I think what we as women need to do first off is just be okay with the fact that we may not know right at this moment, because I think making ourselves wrong for not knowing is kind of perpetuating the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see us stop being so frustrated with ourselves, thinking that we have to have all of this figured out, because yeah, we might have a limited number of options when it comes to kids and things like that. It's romantically, we have tons of options. You're not living in a world where your sole survival depends on being with a man, on marrying well, on, bearing heirs. We're in a different world. Not all parts of this world is that way.
Yeah.
But most of the women that are listening to me right now have those opportunities. So you might as well explore them and then define let's say you already know marriage is for you, but then you decide that you want to explore some other opportunities and see. You might very well confirm that marriage really is for you. You might confirm
that it isn't.
Yes, it's ultimately your choice. Okay, lover girl, it's time for the final thought on today's show.
Marriage for some is just a piece of paper. For some, it's their happily ever after. Don't ever let others decide what its meaning is for you. Today's show is brought to you by thelovesickcure.com. Does your love life suck because you can't move on from the idea of him? Does every man you meet pale in comparison to the way he made you feel? It's okay, lady love. We 100% understand. Whether you'd like the opportunity to get him back or to completely move on, we know this only happens when you cure your love sickness. Let us help you today at thelovesickcure.com.
This is Jen.
And this is Steph.
Don't forget to subscribe to our show in your favorite podcast app, as well as share Single Smart Female with all of your single girlfriends. And if you would like to play around to learn more about Mantourage dating, come see us at havehimyourway.com.
Talk to you next time.